This is Penny. Welcome to my studio. I started this channel so that I could share ideas and techniques that I've learned over many, many years of working alone in my studio, like so many of us. And I'd really like to thank you for your support. It means a great deal because it lets me know that I'm not just sending stuff out into the ether, and that it's actually going somewhere where it's appreciated and hopefully enjoyed. In this video I'm going to show you how I used recycled apparent waste to create this bag panel. For those that are wondering what orts are, in the sense that we're using the word, it refers to the snippets of leftover thread from sewing. When you put them out, you have to sort of very carefully spread them out and making sure there are no big spaces in them and try and make them as even as possible. You will not be able to do it completely, and when your fabric is finished you will have places that let the light through. If you don't want that, I suggest putting them on a fabric backing, but if you want something light and airy, then use solvay on the bottom and the top. Once you've sandwiched your orts, pin them. You don't need to use a tremendous amount of pins because the orts do sort of cling together, but pin them well enough that they don't start falling apart. So I've got my solvay and threads pinned. I've got two cottons, green for the bobbin, violet for the top, and I've got dust all over my sewing machine. I'm now ready to sew. So drop your feed dogs or put your darning foot and darning plate on, whichever your machine is suited for, and then just do circular motions all the way around to hold the threads together all over the sheet. I chose the violet cotton side. It does affect the overall colour of the fabric very slightly, but you can see in the finished piece, you can see that it has a violet tinge. If you wash the solvay out, just wash most of it, but leave a little bit in with these threads, because if there's a small amount of glue in there, it doesn't make the fabric hard, but it just holds the threads together. And once you've washed it and dried it, if you want to embroider it or you want to make it stronger, I suggest putting some black iron-on interfacing on the back. It comes in very thin sheets or thick, but you only need a really thin sheet, and that's what I put on the back of these. I did some heavy stitching on it. As I'm using it for a bag panel, I want it to be durable. And I just picked up the first bobbin available, which had rainbow colour in, but on the front I used a burnt orange and yellow variegated, which blends nicely into the fabric. You don't have to embroider it, and you can use any stitch and do any type of embroidery that you like, including hand embroidery. But I just wanted the background to stay relatively plain, but still have a little bit of interest. I laid it onto black. I'm going to keep the raw edges on the bottom and the sides because I think it adds a bit of character. I may trim off a few overly long bits, but I'm probably going to leave it pretty much like it looks here. I cut a piece of wadding. Well, I actually used a thrift shop queen-size bedspread, which was done really, really thinly, and it was perfect for using as wadding. So I cut a piece of that and put it behind the flap, and I cut it to the right size. I cut it to the size that I wanted the flap to be, and that allowed, a centimetre or so all the way around to turn the black fabric in under the flap. I cut a strip of black fabric and I laid it across the top of the cut section of the orts fabric, and I'm going to stitch that across the top and then turn it up to cover the wadding. Yeah, here it is with that strip turned up and over the wadding, and all the corners are neatly rounded and the sides are stitched in. Now all that remains now is to line the inside of the flap. The flowers are made from a polyester top, a thrift shop top, and it was a very soft drapey fabric, but I thought it looked quite nice on the background, so I melted the edges, which made them curl a little, and then I turned them over, and on the back of them, the circles, I painted a good quality woodworking glue, Aquadear, white woodworking glue. I didn't put too much on because I didn't want it to soak through, but I just painted at the back of each circle, and that stiffened them up a bit and stopped them flopping around. And I used fabric-covered buttons from a jar that I picked up again at the op shop, and I also used a tiny bit of my handmade leftover cord around the actual button in one of them. Oh, I used it on both flowers actually. And then, yeah, sewed them on. So they were pretty easy to make. In the future, I plan to look at things like making journals, and I might also do some 2 or 3 part videos on making things like the owls. And I'd like to also introduce a really fun tool to work with, and that's a soldering iron, a fabric soldering iron, where you can make buttons, you can make journals, you can do all sorts of things with it. Feel free to comment as well, please, because it's the comments that I get that help me decide some sort of direction that I need to go in, because I'm really doing this blindfolded. I have no idea what people like, and your comments and the fact that you subscribe really, really helps. So thanks very much to everybody. I hope you enjoyed watching this little video. If you'd like to see more of my work, go to pennyeamer.crevado.com. I'll put that down below the video. Until next time, thanks for watching.